Okay, so we are just going to spend a couple of minutes relaxing in the beginning, centering. So if you would like to start lying down or sitting up, whatever you want, feel free. But we're going to have a long, juicy relaxation intended asana sequence at the end. So go ahead and let your eyes rest. We have a couple of breaths. Notice what's on your mind. Now, I'm just going to talk very briefly about worry. So as we can all kind of understand, if we're worried about something, it's probably because there's a part of us that wants to protect us in some way and the people we love and our life and our all our stuff. And we don't know how, or we don't know what's going to happen. So it might be useful to think of how productive it is to worry. Sometimes it is necessary, sometimes it is inevitable. And perhaps one of the most important things we can do is remind ourselves that it's okay if we are. We don't have to force it to stop. But one of the things that happens, and go ahead and take a couple of breaths now, as deep as you want to. Maybe exhale with a sigh. So what happens when we practice yoga and meditation is that part of us that's churning things over with our reason, our reasoning, our logic, our memories, our expectations. We don't necessarily turn that off, but we don't pay as much attention to it. So what happens is more creative stuff can come up, more relaxation. So notice what's coming up. And if you are in any sense feeling not so great mentally, you might just notice where you feel that in your body. It might be actually in your head, your forehead, your temples, your jaw. You might feel it in your hands. You might feel it in your breath, in your belly, around your heart and lungs. So notice wherever you feel it, with the acknowledgement that whatever you feel in your body, like you're really tending to it, you're seeing it, you're paying attention to it. So your body gets the message that you are really listening. And if you find that you start to reason with things or explain it, if you start using that part of your brain, it's fine. You can even thank it and just acknowledge that you appreciate it but don't need it right now. Right now, you're taking care of and tending to your body. And maybe the parts of you that exist outside of the very, very straightforward, very word oriented, very past and future oriented self. So anytime you find you're telling a story, step away from it and drop back into the body. Drop into the breath. Notice we spoke to this a bunch yesterday. It's really, really smart, I think, and useful as a practice. Notice if you ever feel a mental sense of efforting and invite in a sense of relaxation. Literally, like your thoughts got so relaxed and so at ease. Like your thoughts were their own little beings and they were completely relaxed. Not a care in the world. So anytime you feel that sense of efforting, you might be in that logic brain that we're not going to use right now. We're going to leave alone just for a little. And then go back to the breath. And we're going to start with some cat-cows. If you would prefer to do these sitting, feel free. If you like that better, maybe with your ankles crossed or your feet together. If you would rather do your cat-cows on hands and knees, that's fine too. But note, anytime it feels again like you're explaining things to yourself, like you're performing or trying to prove something, just take note that's a part of your brain that you need and you love and it's great, but you don't need it right now. So drop the effort. And when you're ready to inhale to lift the sit bones and sternum and nose and exhale to tuck under. And the next time you find you're in cat pose, go ahead and hold it. So round your back, drop your head, and find some flexion in the spine and just see how it feels to breathe here. And if you were sitting down, go ahead and make your way up onto hands and knees. And let's go into cow pose. So feel the sit bones lift up. Feel the eyes of the elbows spin forward. Lift your sternum, lift your nose a bit. And then from here, from hands and knees, in cow pose, feel as though you could drag your hands towards your knees and then anchor down with your knees and your toes into the floor. So the hands drag towards the knees. You pull your chest forward and maybe take your belly in gently on the exhales just to see if your back likes that better. Driving the shoulder blades a bit down the waist, lengthening through the back of the neck. And again, dragging your hands down and back towards the legs as you pull your chest forward. And when you're ready to inhale, bring your back to neutral. And let the knees get a little bit closer to each other. You might untuck the toes if that feels good. And when you're ready to breathe in, and when you breathe out, take your right knee out to the right, and then bring it down. The next time you breathe out, take your right knee up behind you, but keep the front of the leg pointing to the ground. Lift the knee as high as you can, and then lower the knee down. And maybe it's on the exhales that you move right knee to the right. Inhale to center. So on the exhales that you lift, that is. You could lift on the inhales too, of course, that's fine. But do whatever requires the less analyzing from you. Just whatever kind of comes, let it happen. And again, check in. Notice how clever your mind is. It's going to keep on chiming in. And with a little thank you, a little kindness. You just don't need it right this moment. More breath, more attention to the body. More noticing when it feels like your energy is being kind of drained. Maybe a little too much efforting is happening and you back off a little bit. And let's try the other side. So when you're ready, keeping your right knee down, we'll take the left knee out to the left. If you need to adjust your hands or come onto your fists, of course, feel free, but left knee to the left and down. And then as you drive your heel a bit towards your sit bone, lift your knee behind you and down, and keep going. Stay with your breath. And again, is there a sense of wanting to perform or accomplish? Is there a sense of trying to prove something? All of these things are fine. There's absolutely a place for them, but it isn't here. So anytime you feel a sense of efforting in the mind, in your thoughts, thank it and then let it alone. We'll do maybe one more, trying to really keep your tailbone tucked when you take your foot up behind you. And then you can release your knee to the floor. And let's head into downward dog. Tucking the toes, taking the hips up, and maybe pedaling through the legs a bit. Travel up to the front of your mat and fold forward when you get there. Dropping the head, releasing the arms. Inhale, lift the back up some, maybe placing the hands to the legs, and point your eyes forward towards the floor in front of your feet. When you breathe out, bring the fingertips to the ground and step the left foot back. So let's place the left knee to the ground, pat up underneath it if you want to. You can bring your right hand or even both of your arms to your right leg. But when you're ready to, let the front of your back leg drop down towards the floor. You don't have to lift your torso really high, but let's try to lift the left foot up. See how that feels. You could point your foot. You could pull it in. Benefits to both. I think for today, do the one you like the most. And breathe. Imagine the breath was doing the pose and you were just observing it. As you're ready, lower your left toes to the floor, tucking them. Lift the knee up and let's straighten the front leg. And maybe you do this with your fingertips to the ground and fold. It doesn't matter how much the leg straightens. Doesn't matter how much space is between the feet. The intention is to feel for quite some time. We'll be here for a little while. To feel as though the right sit bone could lift up behind you. The torso could hang over the leg to whatever degree feels okay in your body. And again, the breath is prioritized. And we're doing this stretch to let the body tolerate what it feels in that right leg. So the more time we spend here, the more your nervous system's going to kind of get the picture, so to speak. Lots and lots of breath. And again, when you find your mind chipping in and a sense of any mental efforting whatsoever, thank it and then let it be. Let it go. And then get a pretty good grip of your hands on the floor, however you'd like to, and let's step the right foot back to meet the left in downward dog. Take all the time you need. You might just stay here for a moment. You can do whatever you want with your upper body, so whatever your favorite alignment is there in your down dog. But notice if you feel anything different in your right and left legs. It's okay if you do. It's okay if you don't. Just notice. And as you're ready, inhale, shift your weight forward into plank pose before you lower the knees and the rest of the body to the floor. Do what you'd like with your arms, point your feet. Pressing the tops of the feet to the floor. Inhale, lift your right leg high. And exhale, put it down. Same leg, right leg. Inhale, lift it again. Exhale, put it down. Inhale, lift it again. Exhale, bend it. Your knee might point out to the right some. That's okay. If you can, try to get your right thigh to point down to the floor as you lift it up. And tuck your tailbone, pressing the top of the left foot really firmly into the floor. Really squeeze that right heel towards the sit bone. And then reach the leg back. Tuck the toes. Push yourself up to hands and knees, or maybe right into plank pose and then into downward dog. Let's travel to the front of the mat and fold. Taking a breath in, lift the back up some. Fingertips lower, right foot goes pretty far back, knee to the floor. So we're mostly stretching out parts of the quadriceps muscles, which means you don't have to lift your torso up high. We're just going to let that right leg sink down towards the floor. Get your right hand or fist down on your block or the ground in a way that feels good. And let's see what it feels like to lift that right foot. You might try pointing your foot, pulling the top in, see what feels better, and breathe here. You can feel and enjoy and even encourage the sense of efforting in your muscles if that is interesting to you. If you're curious about it. Any sense of effort at all with thought, please let it be. Maybe squeeze that heel in a little more. And then release the toes. You might lean into your hands some to take the pressure off the back knee. Lift the knee up, and we're going to straighten the front leg. If you've got the impulse to step your back foot in some more, that's okay. Remember, the main point is to feel and to tolerate more the stretch in your left hip. So it's your front leg. So you want to feel like you could take your left sit bone and lift it up towards the ceiling. You can lift your back heel or not, but that left sit bone lifts up. Maybe the torso folds. Again, there's a good chunk of time here. Lots of breath. Get a pretty good grip on your hand or hands so you can lean into it and then send your left leg back. Downward dog. And just notice if you feel a difference in your left and right legs. Lifting both sit bones now. Inhaling forward into plank pose. Exhale, lower down onto your abdomen. Do whatever you'd like with your hands. Point your toes. Bring the tops of the feet to the floor. And when you're ready to, lift that left leg up and slowly lower it. Take an entire cycle of breath for each lift. Lift up, lower down. Lift up, down. Let's do one more lift. We're going to leave it there. Really take the hip points up towards the belly button. So you probably will feel parts of your pelvis pressing more firmly into the floor, keep that as you bend your left knee. And try to keep, just for today, just to feel the difference, the front of the left leg facing the ground. And then kick that foot towards the sit bone, the knee to the ceiling. Breathe. 3 breaths, maybe 2 or 3. Feel like you were trying to move the back of the pelvis, like the tailbone specifically, towards your knees, but then lift that left knee higher. And release your leg to the floor. When you're ready, press yourself back up, downward dog, and travel to the front of your mat, folding forward. Relax. Inhale, lift the back up some, gaze forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift halfway up. Let's bend the knees, bring the hands above the knees onto the legs, and then lift your torso like chair pose. But then from here, we're going to let the sit bones lift behind us. Maybe the knees move out some, and feel like you could drag your hands up towards your hips as you bend your elbows and lift your chest. And then when you're ready, let go of your legs. Reach your arms forward, round your back like cat pose, and drop your head. Place your hands to your legs or reach them back behind you. Take your sit bones back, lift your chest, maybe lift your eyes and your nose. And then tuck your tailbone, round your back, reach your arms forward, drop your head. Inhale, sit bones lift, arms go back, or if you want, up. And then exhale, tuck your tailbone, reach forward. One more time. And then go ahead and stand up. When you're ready, turn your feet in towards each other. Yeah. So from there, with the feet turned in, I just want you to lift your right heel and bend the knee a whole bunch. Just see how that feels. And lower your right heel and try your left. Just again, bending one knee at a time. Bend your right knee. You can let your hips move a little. Bend your left. Just see how that feels in your legs. And then let's turn the heels in and the 4 feet out. And do the same thing. Bend your right knee a whole bunch. But keep your heel, if you can, mostly on the floor. Go ahead and straighten that right leg. Bend your left knee. Your feet are as turned out as your body likes. Nothing to force. And let's do 1 or 2 more times. Right knee bends a whole bunch. Left knee bends a whole bunch. Heels still on the floor. So you might not lower as much as you can if you were to lift your heels. You might not bend your knee as much as you can if you were to lift your heels, but keep them down. And when you're ready to, you're going to facing the front of the mat if you traveled. Turn your heels in and your 4 feet out. And step your left foot a little bit behind your right foot. Doesn't matter how far back, but not far. And then bend both of your knees. So we're going to keep the right heel on the floor. You can let your left heel, your back heel, lift up some. And from here, lift your arms, lift your sit bones, lift your chest. And breathe. Lift your chest up. Drag your shoulder blades a little down towards the back if that feels okay. If your shoulders are really close to the ears, just let your shoulder blades open out. That's fine too. And then go ahead and sit up straight. Tuck your tailbone a little bit. Reach your arms forward. Push your hips towards the wall behind you. Bend that left knee. Drop your head. When you're ready, bend your right knee. You can bend both knees. Let your left heel lift up off the floor. Lift your chest. Look up. And then go ahead and sit up tall. Straighten your right leg. Bend your left knee. Reach your arms forward. Drop your head. One more time. Bend your right knee. You can keep your left knee bent. Let your left heel lift up. And find just a hint of a back bend if that feels good. And then left heel down. Straighten that right leg. Reach forward. And from here, get your fingertips to the floor. You can bend your right knee. You can swivel it to face forward. And let's step the left foot back even farther. Inhale here. Bend that right knee. Lift your sternum. Exhale, straighten your right leg. Drop your head. Inhale, bend the knee. Feel your left heel push back, your right shin forward. Exhale, straighten your leg, fold. Follow your breath. Inhale, bend the knee. Feel your legs moving away from each other. Exhale, straighten your right leg, fold. And again, bend and fold. And bend. Left heel back and fold. And when you're ready to, bend that right knee, step your left foot in some, spin the left heel to the floor for warrior one. You're gonna claw into the floor with your left heel, lift your torso up. So don't even think about your arms just yet. Grab onto the floor with your left foot, the whole foot, in a way that feels good in your foot and ankle, and feel as though you could take the inside of your left leg and swivel it back in space. So inner left thigh swivels back, heel grips the floor, toes and ball of the foot grip the floor. You can keep that. You have to keep that in your leg. Bend your front knee as much as you want and lift your arms and breathe. Again, you can have shoulders and shoulder blades up, hands together, face up if you want to. You can have the arms out into a Y and the shoulder blades down the back, whatever you prefer today. But that left leg is really active. And if your thoughts are very active, thank them, but take out the effort. Steadiness of mind on the breath. Squeeze that back leg. Bring the fingertips to the floor. Lean into your front foot and lift that left leg up. Now take a look at your left leg. See if you can point the front of the left leg and the foot, and of course the knee, down to the floor. So your left hip, the left side of the pelvis is not lifting any higher than the right side. But the left leg, you can lift as much as you want to and let your head drop and breathe. So squared off hips. If you want, you can bend that lifted knee. Let your body figure it out. Notice your breath. Sometimes, and this might be counterintuitive, bending your standing knee will help you lift your back leg a little higher. And then maybe after you do that, you can straighten your front leg. So if you want, you can try bending and unbending your front leg, your standing leg a little bit without letting your left knee drop. Just watch your body kind of edge its way into this. But then release your left foot down and fold. Take a breath in, lift your back up some. Turn your feet, your toes in towards each other to whatever degree you can do. That will all be different. Bend your knees, drop your arms, and imagine like a rag doll, knees bent, head dropped. You start rolling up to stand. Take your time. And eventually, when you're all the way up, relax. Turn your heels in a little bit and your 4 feet out, and let's step the right foot back a little. It really does not have to be a lot at all. Find your breath. When you're ready to, let's bend the knees. Lift the arms up. And like you were doing a back bend, lift your chest. Take your hands back. You might lift your right heel off the floor. That's okay if you want to bend your knees more. And then go ahead and slowly put your right heel back down. Bend your right knee, straighten your left leg, and round your back like cat pose, like a forward fold. Reach your hands forward, drop your head. Inhale, transfer some of your weight into your left leg again. Bend that knee a bunch. You can bend your right knee as much as you want. Maybe heel off the floor, maybe not. Back bend. Go ahead and transfer the weight back into your right foot. Straighten your left leg. Reach forward. Take that left hip back in space. Drop your head. Bend the left knee and the right knee if you want to. Lift your torso. Maybe back bend. Straighten that left leg. Reach forward. Bend the left knee, maybe the right. This is the last one. You can do a back bend if you want to. Straighten the left leg. Reach your torso forward, drop your head. Really lift your sit bones behind you, but then get your fingertips to the floor. And step your right foot back a bunch. And find yourself in a lunge. When you're ready, inhale, drive that right heel back in space. Exhale, lift your left sit bone. Fold over the leg as much as your body lets you in a way that's manageable. Bend the left knee, lift your sternum, look forward. Right heel back. And straighten the leg, fold. Keep going. Keep going. And when you're ready, step the right foot in a little bit. Grab onto the floor with your foot. You can even kind of wedge it in there some, and then lift your torso. And let's really connect that back heel to the floor. You can shift around on your foot so it feels really good. I feel like you could take the inside of your back leg and spin it back in space, clamping onto the floor with your foot. So a lot of the energy is in that back leg. Very little, no effort in thought. Maybe take your arms up. So lots of effort in your body, in your thought, in your mind, surrendering, ease, back up. In your right leg, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Fingertips come to the floor. Grab the floor with your left foot. You can hold on to furniture, your props, whatever you want, but let's lift the right leg up. And we're going to look at the leg for today. Have the leg face down. So the right hip point is not higher than the left hip point in space. And if you want to put your hand on your hip just to feel, go ahead. Then again, another counterintuitive thing, the more you let your torso drop, again, to whatever degree your body can and wants to do, the more you might be able to lift your right leg up, depending. And if you want to bend the knee, feel free. Bend both knees if you want to, but let's breathe here. And look for tolerance. It doesn't have to be the maximum thing you feel. You could just find a little bit and then stay there. Let your body figure that out. If you want to try bending and unbending your standing knee a few times, go ahead. Relax your neck. And let's release the foot and relax. So just for the fun of it, let's do a couple of standing splits where we don't keep the hips squared off. Sometimes it's just because you can often lift the hips so much higher, it's just kind of gives a little bit of satisfaction. So when you're ready to, folding forward, take your left leg up, let the knee and the foot point out to the left, and notice if your leg lifts a little bit higher. Make sure your back feels good, and put that foot down. We'll just do a couple. Right leg up, as high as you want to, hip as open as you like. One more each leg. You don't have to. If you want to skip it, skip it. Remember, hip squared versus hip opened up is not, one is not more correct than the other. It depends on your intentions and your body. And the next time you lower your right leg, make your way to hands and knees, maybe even child's pose for a little bit. And when you're ready to, from hands and knees or from downward dog, take your right leg back. We're going to pigeon prep. Take your right knee to your right wrist. And you can lift your left knee, swing your right shin so it's angled somewhere with the front of the mat. If you'd like, you can lift your left foot off the floor. You can even hold on to it. But eventually fold over your front leg and relax there as much as you can, patting up under your hip if you want to, in your knee, wherever you'd like, so you can stay here. And search. So instead of having to codify what's a good thought, what's one that's not so useful, just search for the feeling of effort. When your mind goes off, that's the only thing I want you to look for. And when you find it, release it. You'll probably notice the feeling of effort is often accompanied with thoughts about you. Again, this is useful and it's fine often. We don't need it right now. Go to your breath. Again, drop the efforting, drop the preparing, the planning, all the stuff. If you'd like to maybe hop into a sense of auto-suggestion or use a mantra, you can say the word ease to yourself or surrender. All right, let's go into the other side. You can go ahead and walk your hands in. Because we were here for so long, it might actually feel really nice to go into downward dog first, but you don't have to, only if you feel like it. And eventually you'll take your left knee to your left wrist, swing your leg somewhere to the right, shimmy your right leg back. The point of this for today is to make it feel really nice in your hips. However you'd like to do that. If you prefer grabbing your back foot for a few breaths, feel free. You can add or take anything away from the pose. And remember, just a little reminder, that front shin parallel at the top of the mat is a body type thing that is great for some, not for others, not a goal. Just look for that stretch in your left hip and connect with a sense of ease. So even a sense of accomplishing a goal or an intention here has with it the sort of purpose of work, of changing things, of wanting things to be different. So for now, for you, to you and for you and by you, drop the effort. And notice again the sense of your mind seeking. And just let everything be quiet. Let everything be easy. Really let it be easy. If you want to do another downward dog or vinyasa, this is going to be the last chance. But if you do one, not a lot of effort into it. Just take your left leg back. And just move in ways that feel really good, like you're trying to expend no energy at all. You're just moving in the way your body wants you to. And if you don't want to do a back bend, you don't want to do a vinyasa, we're going to meet lying down on the back. With the knees tucked in. And then dropped over to one side for a twist. And the other side. Let's go into Shavasana. So come back to center and stretch your legs long. If you'd like, have a deep breath in and an easy breath out. And notice again if you find at any point that you've mentally kind of dropped into a sense of lack. And all the stories that come up with that, even just hearing the word. And take all of your attention into the spaces between your thoughts, into that place underneath all the stories, all the conditioning, all the stuff. And make a commitment as your body rests. Make a serious commitment every day to take care of your body and mind, to respect them deeply, to rest. So before we come out of Shavasana, take a moment to connect with this part of you that can absolutely be nourished and made stronger. This part of you that is the opposite of lack. So this place where your wholeness is obvious, where your connection with everybody else is obvious. And just sit there, become really familiar and really comfortable there. This place where nothing's missing. And maybe you can stay there as you move, as you stretch onto your side and up to sit if you want to. And for this little bit of time, and maybe for longer, maybe throughout the rest of the day, notice how nothing dangerous at all happens if you let things be easy. If you let your mind take a break, if you let your body rest, just a couple more seconds, just stop trying. And then if you want to fold forward, put the hands where you'd like them. Have a breath in and fold. And thank you very much.